Welcome to Together Unprocessed, where five friends from across the world share real conversations about food, healing, and life. Let's get started.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Cindy here. I am at the line of Ohio and Michigan, actually 1 mile over into Michigan. It is 7:15 in the morning here. So where are you guys and what time is it? Kim?
I'm the same as you, Cindy. I'm in Ontario, probably about 5 hours from you, and it is 7:18 right now here. Olivia?
I am in the UK, not far from London, and it is about 12:15 here, midday.
Hugo? Ash, introduce your kitty. Where are you? What time is it?
I'm Ashleigh and I am in Tasmania, Australia. It is 9:20 on the last day before we change our clocks. So it will be changing to 10. But tonight it is 9:18 and this is Smudge. Wrong cat. This is Patches.
Oh, she kissed you on that one. Hugo.
Yeah, I'm in Tallinn, Estonia, and it's 2 p.m. right now.
I love this. I love how we are kind of representing all the times of day. So today is super exciting for me because we're talking about one of my favorite topics, which is cold plunge, which is still kind of funny that I can say that because my entire life, I was somebody who was always cold. And I just came upon a picture in my memories yesterday from 4 years ago, and it was October 1st here in Michigan, and it was probably 50 degrees, and I had a scarf around my neck. I was so cold. I was taking a picture of the pond that had beautiful mist coming up from it, and it occurred to me that same morning that I saw the picture, it was like 48 degrees here, and I was outside in shorts and a long sleeve, just a thin sweatshirt. So it's amazing how my body has adapted over the last 3.5 years of doing cold plunge, which is why I got nominated to host this morning, because I've been doing it the longest of all of us. But I have to say, in our group that we were in together when we all met, and I started hearing Kim, I think you were the first one to talk about doing cold plunge. And I was like, oh, wait, somebody else in this group is doing cold plunge too? And then I found out Olivia was, and just even more realizing that you guys are part of my tribe. So I would love to take just a moment and talk about my journey of how I started into cold plunge, and then have you guys share if you've done it and what your journey has been like, kind of what got you in there. And then we'll talk about some of the benefits as to why. So I'm going to keep my my story a little bit short on the benefits, and then we'll come into those afterwards. So stay tuned. And at the end of this, I'm going to get in my cold plunge, which is outside, kind of getting cold for me right now because it's not cold enough here to just get in my ice-covered pond. So it was about 3.5 years ago, and I was going through a really rough time. I was on the heels of a very difficult, painful, I mean, it's kind of silly to say this, but all divorces are usually difficult and painful, right? There was a lot with this that had been going on for me for several months, and there was that going on, and just my business, switching now to being a single mom of teenagers, running my own business, which really wasn't doing that well in the heels of pandemic and everything. There was a lot of stress in my life. And 20 years prior, I'd been to a Tony Robbins event, and he was the first one I had heard talk about getting in cold water. I thought he was insane. Of course, he walks on hot coals too, right? So I thought, well, 59 degrees is the water that he would get in every morning. And that stuck in my mind over the years. And you didn't really hear anything about cold plunge that much, or ice baths or whatever, during that time from 20 years till the time that I was considering this. But I had just gotten into Instagram, and Susanna Solberg's post came up. I don't even know how. She's a researcher in Denmark who did, I believe it was probably her dissertation or something, talking about ice bath and winter swimming, really is what she calls it, winter swimming. And so I was I saw this beautiful picture of her walking into the sea. And it just really caught me. And I started reading about it and saw that, maybe this is doable. 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, most days of the week for like a total of 11 minutes for the whole week. Could I do that? And it's March at the time. And I look out at my pond and I'm thinking, that's really too cold. I don't want to get in there. So that would work. Maybe I should try it. And I contemplated it for a few days and just kept seeing her posts and started diving into a little bit more. And I was in a lot of pain. I was in a lot of emotional pain. And the idea of getting in that water sounded very painful. And it was kind of attractive to me because I thought, what the heck, like, what do I have to lose? I might as well just try this. So I worked myself up one day and got in there. It was the first day of spring. I procrastinated a little bit and I stayed 2 minutes. And there was a lot that happened in my mind on that first dip. I remember thinking how painful it was, but I remember saying to myself, this is nothing compared to the emotional pain that I'm going through right now. And it's okay. And it was kind of a distraction. What I didn't know was happening is all of this stuff kind of underneath the radar chemically that was helping me. So, I'm kind of a challenge person and I like to push myself. So I made it through that week. And I was amazed because I was always the one who was the last kid in the pool. We had a pool growing up, and even if the water was 78 degrees, I was like freezing. And that's how I've been kind of my whole life. And after I did 1 week, I thought I'm going to keep going. A few weeks later, my dad passed away unexpectedly, and it was right at my birthday. And I had been doing the plunging for probably 4 or 5 weeks. And I just decided I needed to keep going. And that's kind of the beginning of my journey. And several months into this, I kept going. And then my mom got really sick and I almost lost my mom. Actually, even a month after my dad died, she had some health issues. And I decided I needed to buy something to keep doing this because my pond was warming up. So, and you'll see it, I got a great big Rubbermaid container and I started filling it with tap water, which was in the 50s Fahrenheit. And I did it all summer. So in the fall, I had a blip. I didn't do it for a while and I could tell. So I'll talk more about what those changes were that kept me coming back and what I found out about it later. But that's how I got started. I had a couple of blips where I didn't do it for a couple months and I will never stop again. And maybe I might only get in once a week during the summers and stuff, but I can tell the difference. And it's actually one of my essential therapies. So the name of my my business, it is something that I will always do. So who wants to share the story next? Kim, do you want to go?
Sure, I'll go. That's amazing, Cindy. Yeah, like your story. And usually something like that is what catapults us into something brand new. And something that we find very challenging, but we end up doing it anyways. And so I started cold plunging. This was way back with the Tim Ferriss, the Ben Greenfield, all that when I was doing my biohacking days. And I was thinking, these guys are bloody crazy to get into this water. And I mean, I'm not talking just water. I'm talking about there's a layer of ice in there as well. And I thought, there's no way I'd ever do that. And so I kind of eased my way into it, and I started with showers, which was horrible. I did not like the shower. And so what I did was 2+ years ago, I filled up my bathtub and I said, don't be such a wimp and get your butt in there. And it was 15 degrees Celsius. And I got in and I was out probably in about 3 seconds. It was like, there's no way I'm doing this. So then I kept going at it, and as Cindy and all of us will be talking about how to do it, the benefits, all that kind of stuff that came out of it. Yeah, and then I just started doing longer and longer and longer, and then I saw Olivia on Discord, and she was doing cold plunge, and she actually had this freaking pod outside, and I was like, hell, man, if she's doing it, I'm going to be doing it. So I bought myself a little pod, and I started going in there, and then we started bantering back and forth. and that's just it, Cindy, is we have the seasons, right? The seasons change. So I took the plunge to get a cold plunge, and I bought the big system, which cost me like $5,000, and I've got the chiller and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I was doing it every single day as well. And I have this mantra that I was doing, and part of it was naming things that I was most grateful for. And what I found was, I really, listen, you cannot think about, absolutely, you can think about nothing when you're in those cold plunges except that you're freezing to death. So one of the things was to get my timing down. I created a mantra, and I do the mantra. So now I do the cold plunge probably 3-4 times because of everything that I've read, all the stuff that I studied. So yeah, that was my journey. And what really got me into it the deepest was, Olivia can't just be doing it by herself. I got to do it too with her, because if she's doing it, I'm doing it. So that's exactly what got me even deeper into the plunging. So that's my story.
I love it. And I love the idea of doing it with buddies. It's definitely more fun. I was totally solo doing this. Everybody thought I was crazy, and I would open up Instagram and look at the few people that were out there then and get motivated to do it. Morosco Forge came up with Dr. Tom Seeger, and he's sitting there in this ice too, and just talking. And I'm like, what? So it would motivate me. I would say, hey, if she can walk into that ocean and he can sit there in that ice, I can do this. And it definitely helps to have a friend. So Olivia, tell us your story.
Okay, well, I think Kim's covered some, but I gave Greg, my hubby, a cold plunge pod, the one that Kim referred to, for Christmas. I can't remember how many years ago now. I have to do the math, probably 3. And he started using it in the middle of winter, and he was benefiting from it. And I really started to get annoyed that he was doing it and I wasn't. And even though I hated, I hate the cold, and living in the UK, my worst time of year is the winter. But the fact he was doing it just annoyed me, and I had to do it because I'm competitive in that way. So I did it, I tried it, and I made quite a few mistakes, and it really put me off. And we can talk about some of those later. But basically, I shouldn't have started right in the middle of winter, and I'd never done it before. And so what I then did was waited till summer and then started using it again when it was really hot and I needed to cool down, and then stuck with it all the way through to winter and did it as the weather changed and as the temperature dropped. You were acclimatizing yourself to colder and colder. And I got so into it at one point, and my huge goal was to just get to freezing. I wanted to get to 0 centigrade and get in and say that I've done it, because I know that reached the peak of the mountain. And so that happened. That came about one day when it was really, really cold, and it was like you couldn't even walk outside. It was so cold and just frozen. And I had to whack the ice, break the ice, and get myself in there. And believe it or not, I didn't actually find it that cold, because I had gone through the process of acclimatizing myself to it. And so now I've done that, I kind of now use it kind of sporadically. Like there's sometimes when I'm really good at it for a long period, like sequentially, and then I have a little bit of a break. So, but I feel I know it's always there. I love doing it. I know it has huge amount of benefits, and we've upgraded our system, so now we can have it chilled all through the summer as well. But it's just been such a lovely extra to have, I think, on top of everything else. It just makes you feel so good.
And Olivia, I'm just gonna tell us about your experience when you were in Switzerland and you went into the water there.
Okay. Well, as I said, I've been at 0 degrees, so I've kind of like done the coldest of the cold. And when was it? Not last summer. Last summer? Yeah, summer before. Summertime. Like going into a lake in the summertime is not a big deal. It was cold. It was in Switzerland. It was in St. Moritz, so it's still high up, and it's still colder than most of the rest of Europe, but it was fine. So I did go in there with a certain doctor who acted like a total baby all the way throughout, and cried because there were stones in the lake and swore, and that's all I'm going to say. But it wasn't cold. So he will tell you it was really cold and it was freezing and it's glacial temperatures, but it's summer and it's downstream from all of that. So don't believe a word he says.
Funny. Ashleigh, you've had some experience, I understand.
Yes, I'm all new, still new to the whole cold plunge. I was doing so well, and then we started running out of water, and yeah, and then it was just got an excuse to not do it anymore. But I am looking at getting back into it. So how I got into cold plunging was that these two beautiful ladies, Olivia and Kim, did a New Year's Eve challenge because they had been doing their cold plunges, and they decided to challenge all of us in the group in our community to do it. So it was a New Year's Eve thing, and I didn't have anything to cold plunge in. So my husband bought me a wheelie bin because that was the only thing that we could find that big enough for me to go into. So
Wait,
we
so I
filled it
have
up.
to pause. What's a wheelie bin? Because I didn't know what you meant, and then you sent me a picture, and it was brilliant. So describe the wheelie bin.
It's just a big dustbin that you put all your rubbish in with a lid. So it was probably, it was one that I'd be able to sort of stand in. So I had to put a step in order to be able to sit down, and I wasn't very eloquent getting in or out, so we had to censor those pictures and videos before sending them to Olivia as proof that I had done it. My one daughter got in after me as well, so it was fun. I enjoyed it. And then
Just to clarify that it was a brand new wheelie bin, not one that you took all the trash out.
No, it was a brand spanking new one, and it's still a brand new. I never had trash or anything in it. It's only had water in it. So that is my cold plunge. So hopefully one day I will get a proper one like all of you have, as I get more serious, get back into it seriously. But I then, after doing that a few times in the wheelie bin, I then traded for inside the as we headed in towards winter. I traded for the bath inside the house, and that was really cold. And I managed to do that for quite a while. And I was, hated every minute of it, but I loved the feeling afterwards. So that made it all worth it. But then, like I said, there were a few. Life happened. Life gets busy, and things happen. And I sort of, that was one of the things that went first.
And Ash, just to add, one of the things that was so funny to us was that, well, first of all, we had this vision of you being an ice brick stuck in this garbage bin. That was one of them because you couldn't get out. And the other one was like really cracked me up is you kept asking your girls, is it time? Is it time? And they left you in there for 3 minutes, not 2 minutes. It was like you overdid it, as in from the 2 minutes. Man, that really cracked me up. Little brats.
Yeah, no, I'd asked him to. Yeah, it was funny. I asked him to time me, and it was just, yeah. They like to play tricks on me, so I was contemplating on doing that back to my daughter, but I didn't. I'm the kind mum, so I told her when she could get out. But yeah, I was amazed she went in after me. But yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Awesome. Hugo, you're the only one left here. Have you ever, and what are your thoughts?
Well, I've not really done it sequentially or consistently. It's just been just an occurrence, just has happened to me, which is when I was in Turkey, I fell into glacial water and it was freezing when I was, yeah, we were rafting and I fell off, so it was extremely cold. It was 30 degrees outside Celsius, and just falling in there. I think it was probably 4 or 5 degrees Celsius, and yeah, that was fun.
Did you fall or were you pushed?
Kind of both. There's other people on the raft. You can. I kind of was pushed, but it was nice actually. Super clean water, amazingly clean. It's just translucent turquoise color, amazing. So, and I got some in my system, but it's not a big deal. It's cleaner than tap water, I would say. But on some other instances, I've done it in summer, after a sauna. That's been amazing. Our summers aren't hot at all. We usually have like 20 degrees in the summer, and especially July is the hottest month, but even that is not that hot. And after a sauna, once you get in a lake, it's probably 10 degrees, so the temperature differential is huge, and it feels really cold. Not as freezing as Turkey, but close. And that's been a great experience. But I've more dabbled into cold showers, which is not the same as cold plunging, but if you do it for a longer time, like a few minutes, I feel like it gets you it feels like it's the same pathway. It's just not as good as the cold plunge itself, because you would obviously have much more surface area when doing the cold plunge. But I feel like cold showers have that same kind of effect, just not as strong. And yeah, I've occasionally done it whenever I feel like it, but yeah, it's not something I've done routinely.
I think cold showers are much, much harder to do than cold plunges. Just for anyone out there who
Really?
thinks, because I also like
Oh.
I can't even take a cold shower, so I can't do a cold plunge. Well, I would not take a cold shower either. Cold plunges are way easier than a cold shower, in my view. So don't let that put
To be
you off if
honest,
you
I
don't.
kind of agree. So it was
I do
easier.
too.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Um,
can't do the cold shower.
I usually do a hot shower and then like a pretty hot shower, and then I switch over to cold
Even worse.
suddenly.
I'd have to turn back the hot again.
Yeah, I've done it in instances where I just put it to the max cold temperature, it's most effect, or sometimes I go more, gradually. But I feel like it is effective, but I can see why it's harder. Cold plunging, you just jump in the water or just sink into it. Well, with cold showers, yeah.
Boom,
But
in
I
your
don't mind.
face.
Yeah, on your head too. I feel like when it
Go ahead.
I feel like when my head gets cold, it feels weird, especially if you're just like on the face, it's fine, on the body too, but if I'm just under the shower too long and fully getting it on my head too, it's just, I don't know, my brain feels weird.
Yeah, you
It's just
shouldn't do
getting
that.
some dizziness.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I don't really do that. Like
Yeah.
I get it on my face, and
Yeah.
that's how I started, and that was the mistake I made, getting it all over my body, including my head, and then I started feeling a bit weird, even to the point where I just couldn't stand up normally, so
Oh, weird. Wow.
too extreme.
With the cold shower, I found for myself the other biggest reasons why I didn't like it is you're doing the warm, then all of a sudden you turn it to cold, and it's instantaneous and it's on you, and I couldn't regulate my breathing, and because I couldn't regulate my breathing, I couldn't endure it like some people can, and it's just like, enough of this, Whereas getting into a cold plunge, you go through, and Cindy's going to talk about, we're all going to talk about it, how to do it properly, but I could never regulate my breath. Did you find that, Hugo?
uh I do feel it when I do it, I get it suddenly becomes much harder to breathe. It's just multiple times harder, and yeah, but I find that it just my body adapts, and it becomes normal, like in 10 seconds, or like it calms down. It's not as bad, but it's the sudden change. I find that's the main differential. When I did the few occasion cold plunges, that wasn't actually that bad. They didn't drop like that. It's easier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel showers are, it's like water torture. You're being pelted with this, anyhow. But still, what I think is so awesome about that, Hugo, too, is resilience, right? One of the effects, I think, of cold plunge is that really helps to boost your resilience. And if you can get in a cold shower and stay in there for a few minutes, I mean, you're definitely reaching those pathways in the brain where you're pushing yourself and you're creating that resilience. And all kinds of different things in our life we can do that when we push ourselves to do something outside our circle, we get better at it over time. That's a benefit for sure. And I'm sure that, you know, the cold effects, they even talk about sleeping in a cold room or just making yourself go out in the winter, right? In the air. It's not as effective as getting in the water and being submersed in cold water, but you're still making changes. Your body has to adapt. And if you do that enough, you will start to change your brown fat substance in your body and all of those benefits. So what I'd love to do, we all have probably our favorite thing about cold plunge, those of us who've done it regularly. So I'd love to hear what your favorite positive effects are. But I'm just going to mention the biggest one for me first. I'll start this off. When I was starting to do this, and I realized about 3 weeks into it that all of this emotional stuff that I was going through at the time, like I somehow was feeling better, and I couldn't put a finger on it. And I just could feel like the depression that I was experiencing beginning to lift. And at some point around, this was even right before my dad died, that I thought, I wonder if this is affecting anything with mental health. So then I decided to Google cold plunge and mental health, and all this stuff came up about how it really does help to improve mental health and decrease depression and improve mood and all of those things. And really 100%, that is what makes me go back time and again. That's what makes me, you know, even though I still don't love going in there. I mean, does anybody really like it? I don't know, but I only like the after effects, right? Like I still have to encourage myself to get in. For a good year, I would open Instagram and look at my buddies on there doing it, you know, and encourage me. And I play the Rocky theme song. The kids know in my house here. It's like, in fact, sometimes they'd put it on for me. Ma, you need to put that on, you know, and make myself go in there. Sometimes I'd play 3 or 4 rounds of it because I was just being wimpy. And then every time I go in, like, why do I not do this? And you know, right away. So I just kept coming back, and it was because of those mental health benefits. And I mentioned a couple of times where I got away from it when my mom was very sick. I couldn't make the plunge, and so it was September, October, November that I didn't do it. Well, it was like the end of September. And I started to really get depressed again. And even though my mom had kind of gotten over that hump and she was going to be okay, you would think I would be feeling better emotionally, and I was feeling way worse. And it at one point I realized it's because I'm not getting in that water. By then it was December, and we had the super freeze, and I had ice in my pond about 4 inches thick, and I couldn't get into it. So I had to wait for the thaw to be able to go in again. And that was like right after the first of the year. And within a week and a half, like 10 days, no joke, the depression lifted. It was unbelievable. And since then, I love going out there and breaking the ice. And now I have a little bubbler that keeps it kind of open. I still get to break some ice, and getting into that very, very cold, I mean, truly ice bath water. I think it's easier because, in fact, Olivia, you mentioned that you were kind of used to it. So when you were getting into the really cold water, you didn't notice it so much. I think it's because the colder it is, it's like you're numbed faster. I think it's easier to get into 34 Fahrenheit water than it is to get into 55 water. So there's been some talk about that, you know, what should the temperature be? It can be 70 if that's what makes you gasp. But for me, I prefer the colder waters. So the mental health benefit is my favorite. Kim, what's your favorite?
Many things. I'm going to say, like, I'm just going to point out what you were just talking to about with the ice and with Olivia. So all winter long here in Canada, everybody knows we move into our igloos, and we're prepared for all that kind of stuff. So my cold plunge, I had to break the ice almost every single day. And the ice actually holds the water at a very specific temperature. And more consistently than not, my water was 1 degree. And the coldest I plunged was at -1 degree. And, you know, it is. You just get in. And I don't know what it is, Cindy. I don't know if it's the numbing. One of the things I had to do was I had to put socks on my feet, because what didn't tolerate that was my feet for some reason. So I ended up putting socks on, and I mean, the longest I stayed in, and I was just experimenting, and it was at 0 degrees with 4 minutes. And at that particular point, I probably could have stayed longer, which isn't advised, and I didn't. But there is something about the water being colder. There absolutely is something there. And the biggest, another thing I'll point out too, so when I was in ground search and rescue, we did water survival, and we did it in the Pacific Ocean. And one of the things that we did was they just threw us in, and we had to, you know, wade ourselves, like keep ourselves buoyant in the water. But there's different techniques we had to keep our body warm, you know, like our armpits and stuff like that. Very different experience than cold plunging. Because in cold plunging, when you get in, you're 100% exposed. Your underarms, everything about you, like I'm pretty sure you two are the same. I go right into my neck, right up to my neck. So it's that whole effect. And yeah, very different experience, because now you're just wide open. And then when the water moves, it feels even colder, you know? So brown fat, that was one of the biggest reasons why I got into cold plunging, is I read that it activates brown fat, and you can increase your brown fat, which is part of metabolism, which is more mitochondria, and it's so much more healthier to you, and also to regulate your body temperature. And I thought that was brilliant. And if that's the way that, or one of the only ways to do it, I was going to do it. And that's how I kind of forced myself to get into it. So it was the brown fat was the biggest reason why I got into it. It was all the other after effects that came in with it, which were just epic. Like, I mean, in the middle of the winter here, if I went out snowshoeing or whatever I wanted to do, my body, it was like I had like 10,000 coats on me, and I was just like really bundled up. In the winter now, I can go out in a sweatshirt and my body is fine. It just changed that whole dynamics of my, or the thermal, what are we calling that? The thermal something of our body. It changed everything. And
thermal regulation, regulation.
Yeah, exactly. And even in the summertime, like summertime, I would be sweating all the time. I couldn't stand the humidity. It changed all that for me. Huge. Yeah. And of course the other stuff, mood, you know, having PTSD and all that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah. And even if I was feeling a little bit, I don't know, like run down, and I didn't really feel that well, you know, and I was feeling kind of bummed, and I just wanted to have a nap or something like that, I would jump in. I would jump in for like a minute or two, and it changed everything. And that champagne feeling in your body after you come out, that's crazy. I don't have that anymore, but I did. I loved it. So yeah, that's what it was for me. And I should point out too, like the Wim Hof method and cold plunging, two very different things. And I don't know if we'll have time to talk about that today, but it's two very different things. And I read Dr. Suzanne Soberg, her winter swim, and I did one of her courses, and loved it. Learned even more. That's me.
Cool. Olivia.
So my favorite benefit is going to be, and I'm sure it's going to be the same for most people, is the mental health benefits. That for me is why you do it. I didn't really, I mean, I know about the brown fat, but I've never really seen any evidence of that. So I don't really know if it is happening or not, but certainly I could tell very quickly after I had come out of the cold plunge and, you know, hated it for the 3 minutes I was in there and dried off. And then the rest of the day is like you're skipping around a prairie, like you feel amazing and like you're on the top of the world. I remember there was one day when I was on day 4 of a fast, and that's when you kind of get into a really nice period of fasting and you're feeling really good about it. And I did that cold plunge on the same day, and I have never felt literally in my life so good as I did with the combination of having like ketones pumping around my body and having done the cold plunge. So you get all of the hormones and the endorphins and serotonin and adrenaline and noradrenaline, all of that like just kicks off. And so you're basically on a high. It's kind of like drugs, but in a healthy way. So there's no other very quick way that I can think of that I can just feel better for the whole day by spending 3 minutes doing something. I can't think of any other payback that's good, that is that good. So it's all about the mental health benefits for me. And when you say mental health, like it's not pulling me out of something I needed to be pulled out of. It was just taking what was already a pretty good day into an amazing day. And then when you have lots of days like that, then like your life is changing. So it's a very, very useful tool to do that. I mean, it really is worth it.
Wow, I love that you point that out, because it's different than my experience. Like I was really in a bad place, right? And so it makes sense that that would help me. But for you to say that, like you were in a good place, it just made you in an even better place. Like how awesome is that? I never really thought of it that way. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's huge. And I was also curious. So I love your whole competitive aspect with your husband. So at what point did you like kind of realize, oh, it's not just, or are you still competitive about it? Like, does it help you to be supportive to do it together, or did you realize, hey, I want to do this for me kind of thing?
Oh, I'm definitely doing it for me now. That was just what got me going. You know, once I'd reached the kind of 0 centigrade, then I felt I had nothing more to prove, and I was just doing it at my own discretion after that. But no, definitely. And also what Kim said about and you said about resilience, you know, it's not just resilience in general, but resilience to the cold has totally changed. Like I used to hate living in the UK, you are spending majority of the year cold and not enjoying it and feeling like uncomfortable and waiting for this like small window of summer that might or might not happen every year. This year we had a great one. But if you can acclimatize yourself so you're actually not feeling cold and you're actually enjoying cold, which sounds kind of crazy, which you are when you've been in something so freezing cold that the rest of, you know, relatively speaking, the temperature all day feels pretty comfortable. So you don't have that kind of like that tension that you hold like every time you go out in the cold and you're like tense up and your core tenses up and your shoulders all tense. Like you don't have that anymore. You just feel like it's nice and cool. So that's really made a difference to my experience of just living in the UK for 9 months of the year. So it's worth it for that point. If you're in a cold country, all the more reason to do it, I think.
I completely agree. Yeah. Do either of you, Ashleigh or Hugo, want to say anything? I have a couple of books that I want to share and also add another benefit that hasn't come up yet.
I was just going to say that when I first was going to do this, when Kim and Olivia challenged me to do it, I was dreading it. I was dreading it. And after I got out, I had that whole feeling of, you know, that whole tingly feeling and the dopamine and just again all of that. And that's why I carried on getting back in after that. That's why I did it in the bathroom, because I was chasing that high of feeling that way. And nothing, I can tell you, since I've stopped, nothing has come close to that. And that's why I've been wanting to do it. I think I've been mentioning it for a few months to Kim and everything, just that I needed to get back into doing it, because no matter what I do, I just can't get that feeling back again of just being like Olivia was saying, where you just feel like you're on cloud nine and just happy. And I think that was the only thing. And I didn't realize that effect would happen by doing whole plunging. So that was like a big aha moment for me. And just, yeah, like I just said, that's probably why I want to go back into doing it, just to get that whole feeling again and that mental clarity as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yep.
love it. Hugo, any thoughts?
Yeah. I've done cold showers for the, you know, effect it gives you after, which is the mental energy and focus, which is really nice. And that's a nice benefit. But actually, I would also add that I enjoy the process sometimes, because it's like putting your body in life and death mode. Right? It kind of feels like that, because it's a sudden stressor, and you know you need to adapt to it. So it also helps that mental aspect, you know, just mentally becoming prepared in case something like that happens. And that's amazing. What I discovered with you know, the reason I didn't like doing cold showers before carnivore is that I had very little muscle mass. So, you know, being in cold, I wouldn't get warm. I would just feel colder and colder, and it didn't feel as good. But that's because of my low muscle mass. And, you know, since switching to carnivore or getting my baseline higher, I already have better thermogenesis produced by shivering, right? And, you know, since I started X3, like when I've done it recently, cold showers or cold plunging, I feel the effects kicking in so fast. The shivering thermogenesis. It feels like on a cold shower, in 30 seconds, I feel warm. You know, from being extremely cold to now warm under cold water,
Wow.
which is so bizarre. I never had that effect with, you know, even before X3, I tried it. I didn't have that effect, but now having gotten quite a bit of muscle mass, it feels so much different, and it's much more enjoyable. And with cold plunges, it's the same thing. I just feel much better. You know, having more muscle mass feels nicer. It isn't as aggravating and just suffer. So it's actually quite enjoyable, even doing it longer. And I can just, that's why I can do it for minutes. Otherwise, I, you know, just have to stop the tap after a minute or two. That's it.
Oh, that's interesting. It almost makes me want to try a cold shower. Almost. Again. But one thing I noticed was that 30 seconds. I remember noticing when I was first starting this that I somehow was able to feel better within 30 seconds. So I decided to search the biochemical effects in the body. And yep, it's about 30 seconds is when the norepinephrine can finally get where it needs to go so that you feel better, right? And I love how you brought up the stress management
sudden.
aspect.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like boom. In fact, it felt like there was a drug. I remember saying, man, I feel like I'm suddenly dreaded. I started because I always had my timer on. And by the way, Ashleigh, you should really don't rely on other people to tell you how long it's been. But I noticed like 28 seconds, 3 days in a row, at 28 seconds was when I felt this rush. And so I always tell people, gosh, if you can just make it to 30 seconds. And maybe a couple of seconds after that to feel that, then all of a sudden you feel like, hey, I can go a little longer and I can go a little longer, you know? So yeah, and the stress management effects, like it gives us that opportunity. You know, I've heard a lot of things on social media about, you know, this kind of up and down, oh, cold plunging isn't good because it puts you in stress. Well, the point is it's good for us to experience stress and learn how to handle it, right? So that's what I do now. I mean, what I learned to do early on was to calm myself and be in a space of everything's going to be okay. You know, the self-talk was huge. This is what cold feels like. The breathing, of course, was there, not, you know, deep, you know, fast breathing, but just calming breathing, slowing down that breath, which we know that just slowing the breath down, aside from cold plunge, slowing it and lengthening it starts to bring on the relaxation response. It's just what happens in the body. So if you can take control of that, here you are in this environment where you're, you know, you can actually control your reaction to that stress. That's teaching you how to handle it for other things in life, which happened for me when I was 2 years ago. So a little over a year after I'd started cold plunge, I was in a serious cycling accident, smashed my face in the ground, and was able to calm myself right away. It's like, instead of saying, this is what cold feels like, I said to myself, this is what it feels like when you smash your face in the ground. What can you do? What's in your control? What's next, right? And so I was able to very calmly, because of my cold water exposure practice, to be able to stay in a place of calm and manage my stress. And I was able to literally fix the trauma of my face, which is a whole nother story. But if I had not had this practice of doing cold plunge, I am certain that there's no way I could have stayed in the space I would have needed to help heal myself. So it's huge for me. And I'm not the only one who's healed themselves with cold plunging and water. I have to share this really quick. So these are my favorite books for cold plunging. This is Dr. Seeger's book, The Uncommon Cold, Uncommon Testosterone. These are my favorite, filled with resources. We're not going to go into all these now. Of course, I've got the famous Wim Hof. And here, Kim is the winner. So look at all my tabs here from when this first came out. And what I really want to talk about too right now is this Wild Cure. Are you guys familiar with this book? This is Dean Hall. So his story is amazing. He was like in the final stages. He was in like, I believe it was stage 4 of leukemia, and he was thin, he was weak, he really had, he thought he had, you know, weeks left, and he decided to take on this challenge of swimming the Willamette River in Oregon, which is very cold. And it's just, his story is really, really amazing. So I recommend looking that up. But what did it do? It boosted his immune system, you know? So the immunity was something that I was initially thinking of when I first got into the water as well. Like, you know, this is good for your immune system, and I'm all about health. And so I kind of started it for that, realizing that that was really not going to be my main focus. So, you know, no, do you guys have any other stories to share about people who've kind of turned things around? There's cancers that have been, besides his, that have, you know, decreased tumors, all kinds of different things. Anybody have anything like that to share? I'm going to start taking it outside as well. So
No, I haven't heard anything. Well, I may have read it. Doesn't mean I probably didn't remember it. But Wim Hof alone, his stories of increasing the immune system. I mean, they did a study with him, and he brought, I think it was 7 or 8 of his students. And first of all, breathing is good for anything in life, not just cold plunge. And I hope at one time we'll probably have an episode on breathing, because it's so powerful. There's no, I mean, it's undeniable how powerful breathing is and how to do it. Wim Hof, so just quickly, he brought his students, and they did testing. So what they did, they injected every single one of the students with, I think it was a cold virus or some type of virus, whether it's flu or cold or whatever. And he took them through the whole process as they were in the cold, and not one of them got sick. Not one of them. So they've done extensive studies with Wim Hof on the immunity side of cold plunging. Like, there's many out there. I mean, this guy, he walked to the top, or he walked to the summit of the, what's that mountain called?
which one?
The big
Everest?
mountain. Yes,
Everest?
exactly. In his shorts. Like, how the hell do you do that? That's freaking cold. You see people up on that summit and stuff like that, their face are windburned. They have a little bit of not hypothermia, but you know, when their hands are freezing, what do you call that? Where they almost fall off. Yes. And he did it in his shorts. So as far as, like you said, with the immunity system, raising the immunity, again, there's enough evidence out there. Just look at Wim Hof, read his book, and read about the, there's another one too. I'm surprised you don't have it, Cindy. It's the one where the journalist joined Wim Hof and thought it was all BS. And he wrote a whole book on it to find that it was very authentic. So there was also that as well. And Suzanne Soberg, another one. And I'm going to read Tom. I can't wait to get into Tom's stuff. The studies that she did are just amazing. And even like Olivia said, like, you really haven't read anything on brown fat. And that is very contentious. I mean, that is out there that they're trying to prove it. Suzanne Soberg has some studies where they have actually increased brown fat. Whether it's legitimate or not, who knows? But there is stuff out there.
Absolutely. Like that's why all of us can tolerate the cold weather better, because we have increased our storage of brown fat, which we are born with, but we lose it because we live in such temperature controlled environments, right? I always say the body adapts to whatever we do and whatever we don't do. So choose, make good choices, right? Because you that can be good or bad, right? So we make ourselves be cold. Our body's like, hey, we don't like this discomfort. We're going to adapt to it, just like it adapts to when we start building muscle or exercising. I'll mention this. So this book here about the uncommon testosterone, really what got him into doing cold plunging or ice baths, as he refers to it, is he had a prostate cancer scare, and his PSA levels were very low. And another thing that happens with men, especially in our modern world, is that their testosterone really dips. I know a lot of people who are on testosterone shots, you know, and he researched it, decided he was going to try keto diet and ice baths to see what would happen. And long story short, his testosterone increased to normal and actually above normal for his age, and his PSA numbers dropped to completely normal after doing cold plunge consistently and doing a ketogenic diet. So he's had, many men share with him their stories of the same thing. And initially his testosterone was so high, his doctor didn't believe him. He thought that he was juicing. So they did other blood tests to prove that no, if he had been juicing, then this number would be this way, and he wasn't, right? Like it was all natural. So a natural way to boost your testosterone, and it works in women too. It helps to balance hormones in general. So really, really, really good read here with this. But anything else you guys want to share?
Like just look into Ben Greenfield, look into Tim Ferriss, look into Peter Attia, look into these individuals that have been plunging way longer than I'm going back 10 years plus, and just read about what their benefits were. And testosterone, whatever.
Testosterone.
Thank you. There we go. What you guys said is part of that too. So we're waiting for you, Cindy. We're waiting you to close out and jump into that cold plunge. I got to check it out. And no, I'm not joining you. I am not joining you.
While you
Also,
do, should we just sorry, go ahead, Hugo.
yeah, I'd also like to add that the reason why cold exposure is so effective and brings on so many benefits is because it's deeply ancestral too. And we've strayed far from that with our modern day lives, which are comfortable in many ways, but we pay the price in that comfort too, because we get a lot of this comfort, but we also get discomfort because of that, because the negative health effects and everything that ensues. So
absolutely,
it is not just cold exposure, it's other topics, it's light, it's water, of course it's food, as we know. It's so many things that we've just gone off and gone off the right path. And if we're doing these things, we can return to something that our ancestors experienced, and it makes sense that it brings a lot of benefits. It should. Our bodies, we should feel amazing and be in great health and not get sick often, and maybe rarely, but that should be the norm.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking about all those things. We discuss it all the time. We write down different ideas and stuff. I mean, it's not just about diet. Eating, the ancestral diet that you should be eating, whatever that is to you, to us, it's carnivore. And that's just the step in the right direction. But there's so much more, like we got, like Hugo said, light, water, and so forth. Returning to Mother Nature maybe is a good word to use. We have so much that we want to talk about, and our own experiences, how amazing they have been, and where we are today from where we were maybe 10 years ago, which would be huge. So yeah, I agree, Hugo. There's so much more. I mean, even down to the products that we use in our homes and all that kind of stuff. Like, we have so much to talk about. And if you want to leave your comments below what you'd be interested in us talking about, or that intrigues you, that you want to know more about. Oh, there she goes.
While Cindy's doing that, I think I might be sharing a few like tips on how to do it, right? So Cindy's going to show us how she's going to do it, but I know a lot of people that think they need to get a cold plunge and go and buy one, but you don't have to. You can start in your bathtub, and you can start with the temperature that comes out of the tap. Most of the time that is going to be cold enough to get you some benefit. Cindy's got her kind of her ice tubs in there and her ice in there, but you don't need to start there. Start with just having cold water in a bathtub and see how you do, and keep doing that. And then you'll probably get to the point like him where you want to go and buy a cold plunge, but you can also carry on doing it in your bathtub. And I think we said like 15 degrees centigrade, which is like 37 Fahrenheit. Anything around that area is a good temperature to start. That starts to get some benefits, and then you'll find that you need to make it colder to continue getting those benefits, but you can certainly start there and still get benefit. So those are just some tips I have. The other thing is, don't stay in too long. That's probably the biggest one, especially when it is starting to get into those colder temperatures. Like, just do it for the feeling you get when you first get in. That's when you're getting the benefit. As soon as you start to feel like, oh, it's not that cold, so I might as well stay 5 more minutes because I can, you're not getting any benefit, and you could actually put yourself at some level of risk in terms of getting something like the after drop that Kim mentioned earlier. And I learned this from experience, and that's why I want to make sure people hear it, which is that if you are in there too long, you may feel like you're not that cold, but when you come out, your body's not able to get back up, get its temperature back up, and it's been putting all your blood flow to your organs, and so it takes you a long time to get warm again. You're feeling cold all day long. If that's how you're feeling after a cold plunge, you haven't done it right. You shouldn't feel cold all day long. And if you start to feel a little bit under the weather or sneezy, then you definitely have. And I've twice caught a cold from overdoing it on the cold plunge. So just be careful about that. Stay in 30 seconds and build up from there and see how you feel. Don't spend like 10 minutes in there. That's definitely not right when you're first starting out. And then the final tip I had was about dunking. So some people like to dunk their heads, but I don't think it's advisable. And my husband's one of them. He does it every day, but don't follow him. I'd say stay well away from that unless you become one of these kind of hardcore hit the ice with a hammer kind of people and you know what you're doing. Don't put your head under the water.
Yeah, I agree with all those. And I think Cindy's going to walk us through her going into the cold plunge and the healthiest way to do it and the safest way. And I agree too. 30 seconds, you'll start feeling the effects. So don't think that you're not getting any benefit or not feeling benefits within the first 30 seconds to a minute, because you certainly are. That's been proven over and over again. So everything Olivia said, I agree with. And I think you said 37 degrees Fahrenheit. It's actually 59, Olivia, Fahrenheit. Yeah, it was like, holy cow, man.
Before you guys carry on, can you just maybe explain how many times a week you guys do this? What is the recommended to do? How many times it is recommended to do it? And if there's an ultimate, like, is it 50 days? How many minutes as well? Like, is it per week? Is it per day? All that sort of stuff, just to sort of clarify that as well.
Yeah, I'll touch on that.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead, Cindy. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Tom Seeger's book is really, really good on this, because it really depends on the person, right? Everybody has a different adaptation level. So the biggest thing is, if you gasp at all, or if it's like, if you feel like that's good, right? Some people, honestly, I've seen people with 70-degree water, they're doing that, and so you're still getting some benefit from that. The other most important thing, I think, is that no one should feel forced to do it, right? I mean, you can't coerce people into doing this. Everybody should be like, absolutely, they want to do it, they're ready to do it, that kind of thing. There shouldn't be any kind of pressure. And you shouldn't jump in the water either, like Kim, how you were thrown in your work that you were doing.
Yeah.
Feet first,
Yeah.
And again, the whole head facing, I agree, Olivia, like it's a different game. But I do try to get myself to do it more now. Oftentimes I just don't want to mess my hair up, so that messes that up there too. But there's a whole thing about just getting your face in cold water, just your face, and that can have benefits as well. So there is that. And as far as how long you do it, Ashleigh, like I tell people, if you can try to get to a minute, because that way you're experiencing the benefits of all of this chemical rush in your body, and then you can actually feel it. If you don't go a minute, at least, you're not really getting that. And I always want people to feel that if they want to. Some people might be in there for 10 seconds the first time, and that's okay, right? You have to go with what you feel comfortable with. And is that you, Kim? And so, and then as far as how long do you need to do it, here's my experience. When I'm acclimated, which is pretty much all the time now, if I have to use a warmer temperature of water, so like in the spring, when I'm used to doing 34 degrees Fahrenheit and my temperatures are going up and up and up, even in this thing, then I have to stay longer in a warmer water to get the same benefits than if I was in like super cold water. So, I can be 2 or 3 minutes always in my iced over pond, and I have the effects. They're there. That's all I need. Most days of the week is what I tell people. The same thing as I say for exercise, and for myofascial self-treatment. Most days of the week, which is how many? 4, right? So it's best if you can do most days. I notice a difference when I cut down to 3 days, but especially 2 days. Like it like barely keeps me going. It's kind of like muscular strengthening. You know, you can do it 1 day a week and you're maintaining, but it's not great. 2 days a week is better. And if you want to build and that sort of thing. So does that help, Ashleigh? Okay. And so okay, the other thing that I talk about is breathing, and I've had a lot of my clients and patients start this in their tub. Same thing, just tap water, whatever that is. For most people, the tap water temperature is going to feel cold and you're going to gasp, right? So you just start off by tuning into your breath. So many times we don't even think of our breath, and especially in a stressful moment when we should think about breathing, just tune into that breath and slow it down in and out of the nose. Just in and out of the nose, calmly breathing. And then I start using my self-talk. You know, it's like, okay, this is what cold feels like. I'm meant for this. I'm okay. And it's that constant reassurance from within that helps my resilience, you know? And then I do look at my clock. Sometimes, you know, especially if it's one of those days where I struggle a little bit. And I just know that if I can get to 30 seconds, I'll feel better. And then I do. And then I go into that space of feeling my heart center and connecting with that, connecting with my body. And then, you know, that tension that you get when you're just like totally freezing and your whole body likes to tighten up, and you could think of it as shivering or whatever. But before you even shiver, we all kind of do this tensing. I have now been able to make myself just take control of that. Okay, what if I relax? What if I let go of that? And then it's a different sensation, it's a different feeling. And I feel like that has given me so much more resilience just doing it that way. I see, Kim, you're getting out there in your area. I'm going to see if you guys can hear this. I don't know if it will work. Can you hear that? Thumbs up. So this is my Rocky theme. You guys can't hear it. Okay, that's okay. The Rocky theme music I would play if I just like couldn't get myself to get going. So here I go.
One good thing I'd
Just
say is
connecting in with my breath. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, as you're going to show us, the important thing when you're first getting in for the first time is to just get in. Like, do not let anything stop you. Don't put one foot in and think about it. Just get in.
Right.
I agree.
So what helps me is I go to hit my stopwatch, right? So I can't waste time. If I've hit my stopwatch, I gotta go in. So here it goes.
And myself, I do it naked, which is probably another reason why I'm not getting in this morning. When we do the challenge, I will definitely come up with something other than my beautiful birthday suit.
Kim, stop telling everyone our secrets.
20 seconds.
My other
And
tip
it
is
hurts,
if you're going to
you
do
know?
it naked, if you're going to do it naked, don't do it when your window cleaner turns off in your back garden.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? It's like, you're welcome. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you know, and
Okay.
we definitely went longer on this one. I mean, there's so much to talk about, and you know, we'll probably other ones too that we're just so passionate about. You know, we are very conscientious of our own time because we're all over the world as well. Like Ashleigh, you know, moving now into what 11 o'clock at night and stuff like that. So yeah, there's going to be times, I'm sure, because we're just so passionate about specific things. Carnivore, cold plunging.
Okay, you guys. I have to speak up here. So it's been 1 minute and 20 seconds and I am shivering today, which is unusual, but I haven't been in here for a week. So that's what I mean. It's been almost a week. Anyway, too long. And I'll notice that my shivering will happen sooner if it's been too many days. It's amazing how the body adapts like right away, you know?
And what's the temperature, Cindy?
Oh
Did you
yeah,
look?
it's 7 degrees Celsius. Yeah, 7 Celsius and
46, between 45 and 46 Fahrenheit. So it's pretty cold. I had it going early this morning with several chunks of ice. So that's what I was going to explain. I have a freezer in my garage that I have Rubbermaid or like plastic containers about the size of a shoebox that I have going all the time. I got like 13 of them in there. So today I think I put 7 in here.
Can hear her shaking.
I'm gonna do another 30 seconds. I know this is why I didn't do it before the talk, because you can't talk as well. You know, we talk about that recooling, so that as you get out, and then our blood flow goes out to the extremities, which are colder, then it picks up that cold blood, brings it to the core, and it actually drops your core again. Woo.
Yeah, that's the peripheral vasodilation of the blood vessels, right at the top.
Right.
That's how you get cold drop. Is that, you know, they just,
that's what I mean.
Cold for, yeah.
Sympathetic nervous system, right?
Exactly.
Adrenaline.
Yeah. So the other thing that
Good
I do
job.
is I would also stand here on the ground. You can't see me on the ground, and I'd stand in a powerful pose, look out at everything, and just remind myself that I can do hard things, you know, like grounding in my pond is great. This is not grounded because it's plastic, but standing and grounding and feeling the power of that is just very, very cool. Now, the other thing that we didn't talk about, there's so much more to talk about, right, is how you warm up after this. You don't go getting into the hot tub, Kim. you don't get into your shower. You do some activity. And it doesn't have to be much, but I will usually do just some calisthenics, or I might have on my exercise, my bike trainer in the house, or just do something to get myself warmed up by making my muscles work. So
yeah, jumping jacks is really good. And you can get in the hot tub. You can go cold, hot, but end on cold. Always end on cold. So I was doing that for a while too, where because I really like that sensation you get when you get from the hot and you get into the cold. It's a weird sensation, but you can do that too. Lots of people do that. Just end on cold.
yeah, and there are some differences between getting in hot water versus dry sauna, but let's not go there right now.
No.
So
all right,
why
man.
end on cold
thank
though?
you.
Over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just one
What
last
was that,
question. Why
Hugo?
end on cold? Why end
Why
on cold?
end in the cold?
Just asking.
Because you
For
want
the
your body
effect.
Kim, do you want to, since you started it?
Do you want to answer it, Kim? I mean, you want your body to warm yourself back up. You want your mitochondria to push themselves to warm you back up, and that's when you get the kind of the brown fat and the extra fat. So if you end on hot, then you don't
Right.
get that last burst of that.
Yeah, I was also guessing that's why, but you know, just for the viewers.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone has that question. Yeah.
And if you
Right,
can
good
have
point.
an amazing scenery like Cindy does to stare at. So when I sit in my cold plunge, I just stare at make sure I'm looking at nature, like I look at the top of a really tall tree and just stare at it. And it really does give you a really calming, as Cindy said, and almost like a meditative experience.
Absolutely. This is definitely my meditation.
Yeah. And there's oh my gosh, we could go forever because there's just so much about cold plunge. Like just as us talking, like we can do a second segment too, because you know, like we could talk about exercise and plunging, how people do that wrong. You know, there's a sequence of doing that as well, and many other things. Like, I mean, this could be a very big topic. So we could have a part 2 for sure, and we'll all jump in.
All right, you guys, thanks so much for joining. Thanks for being here for my plunge. Give it a try. And we'll see you next time.
That was awesome. Thanks, Cindy.
See you next
time.
Thanks.
See you.
Bye.